Right. Okay. We're gonna make an attempt at re-recording your lesson. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the VOD that you've sent me with you versus Cloaked. I'm gonna touch on some points that we covered there again, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the training mode and just kind of revise the things we said about what options you want to be using in what situations, how you need to cover things, stuff like that. So we'll go over this VOD first and foremost, and we'll change from there. So obviously, as we mentioned beforehand, you need to be wary of Meta Knight's ways of getting in, and obviously you are aware of that, so you're doing a decent job of that. Just being wary to not let yourself be open for the big conversions, because obviously that's all Meta Knight can really do. If you don't get hit by the big things, he really does struggle to find his way in. Okay. It's fine, just trying to reset back down, it's fine. So see, that's obviously where it's risky. He's missed that there, but he could have done damage to you there. Here is again something that we mentioned first time around. To recap, when you're in this situation where you've got the control of the situation, obviously as we mentioned beforehand, the middle of the stage is what you want to be looking at in terms of your the stage control. You want to make sure that that you are closer to the middle of the stage than your opponent is. Furthermore, you generally want to try and make sure you are between the middle of the stage and your opponent. It makes it a lot easier for you to keep them in a bad position if you keep yourself between the middle of the stage and where the opponent is. What you've done here is you've jumped up and sort of tried to challenge. As we mentioned beforehand, in a lot of ways you almost always try and get as much damage out of each move as possible, which sounds good in theory, but sometimes you're not going to get all of the multi-hits. Sometimes you need to go a little bit lower and let the multi-hit go up, especially on up air. Up air is like, it's an annoyance more than a a proper juggling tool. It's like a little bit of reward, it does like what, 5-6%, but there's no risk. So really in situations like this you want to fall down and up air up, but get back to that position as fast as possible, especially when they're on the way down. A lot of this game is the opponent sort of falling in and you letting them get there. This was obviously just a bad choice, but something I did notice this time around was obviously you've missed your positioning there, you've got them in a bad spot here, and you have actually correctly used your neutral air to challenge them coming down. See, he's obviously tried to come down with the neutral air, and you have hit him with the old fishbowl. So that was good. That was very good. And it's just not being ready here again and just kind of using the wrong option, which we covered. Just an American air dodge. Again, as we mentioned beforehand, obviously you want to try and be nearer the middle of the stage, but sometimes it's worth just accepting you're not going to get there. Just to land, get your feet back on the floor, and then you can fight from wherever you're at from there. This character's so cringe. Actually, we're going to look back on this real quick. Okay, so that was actually another attempt at hitting them on the way down. So you missed with the fishbowl this time, and then they've just landed on you. So a lot of what Cloak was getting here was just you letting them get right back into the middle of the stage. Like realistically, this is how he ended up getting that. Was just because he was able to land free. I reckon if you play Cloaked again and you don't let him, and you keep are you up smash in the middle of the stage or something, I reckon you'll beat him. So there was another situation. We'll actually keep watching. That was another situation just there, where you were somewhat you were setting up the ledge trap before he'd even shown he was going to go to a ledge. It was another good neutral air to keep him from landing. But you see, he's always trying to fade towards the middle of the stage. It's actually a really bad habit he's got. Surely not, right? was going to say, I'll swear you didn't get 3-stocked. That was just unfortunate that it was unfortunate that they fell out of the nair there. Yeah, so obviously these like, you know, these dash attacks are risky. I understand why you're doing them, but you know, it's one of those ones where Meta Knight is trying to get in on you more than you try and get in on Meta Knight. One of those ones where you have to keep track of the character specifically. You know, the last thing you want to do is do Meta Knight's job for him. Yeah, and that's just unfortunate. So, again, back into this game. And I know this game went a little bit better for you. I'm assuming that was actually meant to be up air, but misinputs in it. So there was what we mentioned a little bit beforehand with the nairs. Using the nair as like a landing option, you want to hit with the last hitbox or aim for the last hitbox to hit them. Obviously, the last hitbox it's like sort of like angled downwards, so it will hit people on the ground and it will cover you very well in that regard. It's very reliable and it still pops them up nicely, so you can then get your conversion. But it's definitely worth keeping track of. With a character like Meta Knight who has such strong disadvantage with all their multiple jumps, it's just worth remembering that the chances of them going low are very unlikely. Another thing I didn't actually mention in the first time round, but when you've hit their shield with an up smash, right? So like we all know it's quite safe. I don't actually know how safe it is, so I'm gonna check now. But yeah, -6 on shield, right? And that's assuming the first hitbox. So I think that's technically -5 if you hit with the front, right? So the important thing to know, wow, there's a lot of shield damage. The important thing to think about is that, yeah, you know, if they've got a really fast out of shield option, they're going to be able to challenge. But it is very safe. So you can sort of look at this and go, you know, what is the option here? Obviously, the standard next offensive option is to then do an F tilt and then try and catch them coming in. And it works. But like what you've done here is you've then gone for the neutral air. Now, I'm not sure why, but that would typically be an option that would be used to cover a jump. Right. Another thing that might be really good to do out of after an up smash is to then just shield and wait for them to pick an aggressive option. You basically get a bit of a 50-50. If they try and pick an aggressive option out of that, then you can upbeat it. And if not, then you know whatever you've followed up with, we're still going to apply a lot of pressure. But it's just worth remembering what they're likely to do in that situation. The chance of someone's going to jump out of blocking the up smash is very unlikely. They're usually going to either try and retaliate or move away. So yeah, it's sort of like looking at it in like a different perspective, I guess. Try and keep track. Think about what your opponent is going to do after the option. Obviously, you don't want to just start mashing things because that just doesn't work. But you know. And as we mentioned beforehand, not only is Cloaked getting away with landing in the middle of the stage, but you keep trying to drift in a lot. Not in this particular situation. That's so mental. But yeah, no, that was just a good out of shield option from them. I mean, that was technically not punishable, but you obviously didn't shield immediately after. I would honestly say it's not, it can't be overstated how broken it is or how good it is when Game & Watch does an option and shields right afterwards, because it's so hard to punish. Like that right there, where you basically shield right as it's like, right, well, okay, you know, you have the challenge here. So you're playing really good here. This is some good cheer at the moment. It's just got to hold the positioning. And as we went over it again, in this situation, you're holding the position, you see you're pretty close to in between the two. We'll ignore the fact that Turtle's about to come out, that's a misinput, we both know it. But you're right in between the opponent and the middle of the stage. You're still there, you're still in a good spot, and you kind of go to cover the platform. I understand why, but it's just worth remembering what options your opponent still has. So in that situation, he still had jumps. I'm going to guess Cloaked is just kind of used to being allowed to just land in the middle of the stage like this. That was just a dimensional kick thing, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Yeah, that was just a mispunish, and then that is obviously what we mentioned a little bit beforehand. You're sort of drifting in, so you got hit, and rather than just going back to getting your feet on the ground and just going, okay, well I'll take that hit. It's not the end of the world. Like, you've taken realistically what you took, what, like 10% from that, if that. Yeah, you took 10%. Just get your feet back on the ground. You don't have to try and immediately retaliate, which is a common thing, which is what you've done here. You've immediately drifted all the way in to kind of fight back. Sometimes it's best to just wait. And obviously that's just kind of what's ended up happening there. That was interesting DI from Cloaked, but hey. So another thing that is going to be tough to remember, but basically if you land like a combo starter hit and you're not in a good position to combo, so like here, like you're moving away from them as you do the nair, don't immediately panic and go, oh no, I have to get some form of combo. Like, understand you've put them in a bad position and you can likely continue, you can likely pick the combo back up, especially with a character like Game & Watch, but don't immediately overcommit, because you've like dash grabbed in here like I need to capitalize off this. Sometimes you just land the hit and you're not in a position to really capitalize. Sometimes that just happens, it's okay. In situations like this where it's a bit of a scramble, it's pretty safe to just go for another nair, because if they jump, they're probably going to get hit. If they shield, it's going to be pretty safe. If they try and retaliate, they're probably going to get hit by the nair anyway. So it's like, in those scrambles, the neutral air is very good. It would have been very funny if it died there, not gonna lie. Oh, you got away with it again there. So that's another situation. We'll just cover it again. You've got the positioning here. You're between the opponent and the middle of the stage. You still mostly got it here, but then you've moved off to the side, and he's just jumped and landed back in the middle again. You really got to make it so if the opponent wants to get their stage control back, they got to work for it. But yeah, so that's just another situation where you've just picked the wrong option. Again, stage positioning is going to land on top of you again. Honestly, if you'd have just been spamming some up smashes there, he would have been fucked. This is good. You see the positioning, it's good. And then you've over-challenged there. I think you died. Yeah. So that actually all came from you challenging too hard in a situation you didn't really need to. Just remember, if they're landing on top of you, up smash, bro. So, yeah. That's that. So we will now turn that off, and we've got the game open here. So, it's like I said before, what we want to try and do is we want to try and strip your gameplay right back. Strip it right back so it's just very fundamental, very basic, and it's going to feel very limited to begin with, but it will work for you. So, we've got the game open here. I'm just going to turn my game volume down so it doesn't ever do anything there. So when it comes to this situation, when you're in neutral, obviously, as we've discussed before, Game Watch is pretty limited in this neutral situation, right? You are pretty good at knowing to shield and then immediately up being as soon as they touch a shield, which is a pretty good thing. Being able to do that is very important. In the neutral, when you are, for lack of a better term, not committed, as we talked about before, this is a game of slaps, right? Neutral is a game of slaps where you're both stood there. You know, you don't necessarily have a turn to go first, but you're basically trying to bait your opponent into doing something before you commit to anything. You want them to break before you do. So you're going to be there and you're going to be like, I'm not doing anything. You know, I look like I might. I'm just going to drop my hands, but I haven't actually swung to hit you yet. Or I haven't moved out of the way. So you're trying to bait the opponent into doing something first. And with Game Watch is very good. His little dash dance is very good for it. And the key thing with Game Watch's dash dance, which sounds very silly, but because there's no frames of animation of it at all, like it's not like a normal dash, it's very hard to tell where he's going, right? You can just kind of tell that something is happening, but you have no real visual feedback onto what is happening. So moving around like that is very good. Just little short hops like that. His shot is very low actually. It's just like you know, little jumps, you know, running up and shielding, stuff like that is all very useful in terms of your mobility. Just making it so you move very smoothly. So you've got short hop fast falls, full hop fast falls, just regular short hops, dash dancing, dash shield. And as we discussed before, when you want to dash shield, you have to hold forward during the dash. Because if you just dash and then hold shield, you see that it's delayed a little bit. Whereas if you hold forward, so you enter the run animation immediately, it's much faster. You see the difference. Right, anyway, so that's obviously your movement. That's the bit of where it comes from. That's basically the bit where you try and bait the opponent into doing stuff. And it is important to remember to keep stage control while you do this. Don't give up too much stage control, because eventually if you end up here, you have nowhere to dash dance. You have nowhere to move. You're kind of stuck at the ledge. So, in terms of the moves you want to use, obviously as we mentioned before, Nair, a very good move. And you want to almost using it like a slide, like a Vega or a Dhalsim slide in a Street Fighter game, where you want to hit with the end of the hitbox, because it's going to be safer and it's going to cover options. It's going to cover ground movement a little bit better. You're quite convenient that doing it rising means that if you then fast forward, it's like as the final hit connects. If I was any good. Apparently. So yeah, it's quite simple. If I'm, you can realistically do all sorts of stuff. I don't know how to do the combos very well because I don't play the character, but it is essentially about making sure you hit them with the edge of the hitbox for the most part. But yeah. So that's a good option. It's good for catching jumps. It's good for catching people trying to attack themselves. Because it's big, it lingers a lot, and it hits right above Game Watch as well. Like you see, it's over his head. Like there's the main hitbox and then there's the fish. It's amazing for it. You've also got, he's got some grounded options. His ground options aren't great, to be honest. Like you've got the dash attack, which is the closest thing he's got to what a burst option is, I guess. But it's not amazing. It's just there to stop people from moving around on the floor. Like if you know they're gonna move around it, or you feel that they're gonna land and you can't really get there in time, you can kind of go slide in with the dash attack. Of course, people might shield. Game & Watch has got some decent options on shield. Obviously, we've been over the Nair. The up smash is very good as well. You can make that quite safe. I mean, you obviously got that is -5, which is just absurd. But yeah, so that's obviously a good option on shield as well. But especially if someone's shielding, you generally want to be grabbing. So it's like down throw and then collection combo, or even a high percent up throw. That's 22. What the fuck? Bro, your character's so good. That does more damage than my like kill confirmed. Anyway, it's important to just know that like you don't want to commit to the options that are like risky. So like Game & Watch's options are very good, but they're all quite long animations. So be wary. For the most part, you're not going to be actually committing to options. You're essentially going to be waiting and then like trying to challenge with or trying to like challenge a challenge, if that makes sense. So you want them to swing first, and then you can like upbeat them. But of course, you have got the ability to challenge when they're on your own accord. Yeah. Wait, that's only -14? Damn, alright. But yeah, so obviously then the next thing we want to do is we want to cover them being at the ledge. With this sort of position where you've got a bit of a positional advantage. The important thing is to keep yourself at a range where you can retaliate without overcommitting. Because if you like run in and try and like dash grab or something, or you like you run in and you nair, you might end up losing your position. You might end up going behind them and end up being at the ledge yourself, or you might give them a chance to roll in or jump away. So it's very important to kind of hold this position. Obviously, Game & Watch has amazing tools that, like, maybe he's not got great approach tools, but he's got really good tools for forcing the opponent to respect him. So obviously, as we mentioned, you've got the down smash, the up smash. Like, you know, up smash not so much here, I guess, but like down smash, really good in this sort of situation. F tilt, very good in this situation. It's so far away. And they will basically force the opponent to stay where they're at. You want to be wary of the opponent trying to jump over you and roll through you. So obviously rolls will be beaten by like both the F tilt and the down smash, as well as general approaching options. But also, it's just important to be wary of the opponent jumping. If you watch Ruben play, he'll like cover like with back air for the most part and just kind of force them off stage. It's not easy, but it's a way of doing it. You can, you know, use neutral air as well. That'll work. But it's a case of you want to react to the jump more than read it. What might be easiest, and it's again something for you to figure out on your own. You can up air, or you can up B and force them off stage. You basically want to cash out on your positioning here more than directly challenging where they're at. It's not like neutral. You don't need to challenge it. You've got the advantage here, so you can just kind of hold your position basically. Same thing kind of goes for when you're in this sort of situation where they're above you. Like it's very oh fuck's sake. Like, you know, when they're above you, as we mentioned before, you want to be between this middle point of the stage and where your opponent is for the most part. So, you know, you challenge on this side, you basically force them to go over that way. If they're hanging about up here, you want to up B at a position or you want to do like up airs and such at a position where if they try and hold in, they're going to get hit, so they have to fade away and go off stage. And, you know, you can get them in the ledge trap situation there, which is really helpful for you. Again, if they're going to be landing on top of you in this sort of cone area, which is sort of basically a sort of like a big upside down triangle from where Game Watch is stood currently to the edge of the top platforms. If they're coming in at any point there, you've got so many options to cover. You've got the up B. like that's an amazing option for it. We've got the up smash, which is invincible. I need to actually turn that on so you can see it. I don't know if it even shows it. Oh, it does. It's like a balloon. Like, yeah, he's got intangibility on his hands. Look. But yeah, he flashes blue very briefly because he's just completely invincible in that situation. I think he flashes yellow. I think he goes yellow because he turns actually invincible as opposed to intangible. Anyway, besides the point. This will beat anyone challenging from above. Like, look at the size of that hitbox. Honestly, that's huge. And you can do it at a shield as well, so you just press up and A and you'll do it at a shield. You obviously got the up air, as we mentioned beforehand. And you can kind of like pressure all day with this, like in terms of covering position. So generally, if they're going to land on top of you, you want to cover them. You want to basically challenge them and say, no, you can't do this. You had done it a few times with Nair, but it's just remembering that you've also got up air, up smash, up B. They're all very, very good at stopping them from landing on you. And the important thing is that this one kills. This one will kill them if they do it. So this is like the hard, you know, don't land on top of them. How they? Where else from here? Yeah, so in the ledge trap situation, obviously you already know when they're off stage, you need to basically look at it and go, are they going to go high? Are they going to recover high? Or are they going to go low? And you don't want to commit to an option until you know which one they're doing. So, for example, if he wants to just do it, if they like jump, you want to like you want to like challenge with a, again, it's the same as if they're jumping out of the corner, right? Like if they're going to go high, you want to either up air them or up B them or like back air them, trying to jump out. That's an important thing to do there. And then if you generally want to position yourself to threaten any attempt at going high. If they try and go high, then you can hit them. You want to threaten that you're going to challenge the high. And then if they go low, then you can basically come down and go, aha, ledge trap time. How safe is that? Ugh, that's not okay actually. That's really, really plus. But yeah, so I'm just messing around with the character now. So basically, when you're in the ledge trap, when you're in an edge guard situation, you want to position yourself in a way that you are gonna make it so they can't recover high. You're gonna force them to go low, because then when they go low, then you get your ledge trap, and it's very good, as we know. So just be wary of risking yourself too much. You don't need to chase them off stage. Like, you don't need to, like, you know, go and, you know, Hail Mary with the back air and such. You can position yourself to challenge a high recovery, make them go low. That'll work out well for you, and then you can ledge trap. Don't immediately start assuming they're going to go low, because they might not. Again, in a situation when you're in disadvantage, so when it's in a situation like this, where you're off stage, where you're in a bad spot, just be patient. You don't have to challenge immediately. Just get your feet, get your feet back on the ground. The most important thing is there's 3 stages to the defensive situation, right? Stage 1 is being off stage, and then winning that is getting to the ledge. From there, you want to then get onto the stage, and then from there you want to get your positioning back, right? So look at its 3 stages. This is something I didn't cover with you earlier, but we're going to do it now. So you want to go step 1, you know, just get somewhere near the ledge, grab the ledge or something, get your feet on the ground, and then reset to neutral. It's like a 3-step process. Sometimes you don't go off stage. In that case, it's just get your feet on the ground. Sometimes the ground is a platform. The platform counts as well. It's not as good, but it still counts. And what happens is, because if you obviously get your feet on the ground, you get your resources back. So you can jump and you can up B, and you can do that stuff again, which you couldn't do beforehand. And then you can try and think about getting from this situation back into neutral. So obviously, as we covered beforehand, you got hit a few times and then would drift. Like you get hit and then drift in with a back air. You're essentially trying to skip the phases right away there. Like, you know, in that situation, if you've gotten hit, just get your feet on the ground. Your feet on the ground, or like, you know, even land on a platform. That's okay as well. Just get yourself back to a better position as opposed to immediately going back to the best position. So, really quick summary: neutral, movement, dash dancing, short hops, dash shield. Going to keep it to 3 options for each thing. Okay. So your movement in neutral is dash dancing, short hopping, and dash shielding. Your actual neutral options are there. Dash attack and dash grab. Okay. In those situations. Your options in advantage here are going to be F tilt, down smash, and honestly, whichever option you find is most comfortable for challenging and for jumping. I would find it being back here, but maybe you're an up B guy. Who knows? When they're above you, it's up B. Sorry, it's up air, up B, and up smash. And when they're off stage, it's just threatening the high recovery rather than the low one. Lastly, when you're coming at a disadvantage, step 1 is get to the stage. Step 2 is get your feet on the floor. Step 3 is reset to neutral. Okay, that's all you need to worry about. Sometimes there's only 2 steps. Sometimes it's just get your feet onto the ground, reset to neutral. That should be everything. Again, if there's any other questions, just ask me. Or we've got the free session, so try and think of stuff for that next session, and we'll be all good in a bit.